When you come from a poor background, books like this can mess with your thinking because they will fill you with all sorts of motivation and push you into jumping into an unplanned entrepreneurial journey. That's exactly what happened to me in 2016. After reading The Richest Man in Babylon, I started saving up money from my monthly allowance. And by the time I finished reading Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, I was ready to jump into a business. I have all the motivation to start a business, which I did. Plot twist, it did not end well. So in 2016, I started my first business. Like I was a student then. It was during my ND, National Diploma, and I saved up 10,000 naira and I was like, what business am I going to start with 10,000 naira at the time? And I said to myself, okay, let me look for what ladies will like. Like my customer base should be ladies. So I bought some ladies shoes, flat shoes like that, and it goes for 10,000 naira, 12 pieces. So my profit is 2,000 naira. So I got the first batch and I sold the first batch. I was very happy that, oh, I'm going to make so much money from this side hustle. Like, oh, business is booming and all that. And the first batch, I think I only gave out two shoes at credit. So like I used to take it to hostels, to student lodges, and just market myself that, oh, this shoe is beautiful and all that. Sometimes I even carry one of my very good friend with me and we used to advertise to women like, okay. So the downside is was that some people want to buy the shoes, but they were like, oh, it has to be end of the month and all that. So I was very strict at the beginning that I don't want to give credit. I was very happy that the first batch was sold very quickly. So I got the second batch. And the second batch, it was very slow. I have to give out a lot of credit. Like I was waiting for them to pay me at the end of the month, which so many of them did not paid. The price of the shoe is 1,000 naira, and some will pay 500, 200 there. So it kind of get difficult for me to make to accumulate all the money for the shoes, and some did not even pay the remaining balance for the shoe. So for each shoe I was having like 150 or 200 profit, and if I wasn't able to get the complete money, I was at loss. So but the second batch I was a bit discouraged, but I was like, oh, the motivation from all these motivational books, from all these business books, that okay, the first time is not rosy, like you have to keep going, is a risk and all that. So I said, okay, let me try for the third time. So for the third time, I got the third batch. So at the time our school went for break, and it was a long break, and I was like, oh, I cannot take these shoes back home because I'll not be able to sell the shoes at home. So I looked for someone that has a shop. He was a tailor, and his shop is like where there is foot traffic. So I said, oh, can I keep these shoes with you so that you'll be able to sell it for me, since you'll be here and I'll be back home and all that. So which he agreed to, because I've known him for a while before I even introduced the business to him. So he was like, no problem. So I gave him the shoes. I gave him the shoes and I left, and the break got extended because eventually while we are about to resume, the school went on a strike. So the break took a very long time before we resume. So I keep calling the guy that, okay, how far now? How many people have bought the shoe? Oh, a few people have bought the shoe. I was expecting that, okay, he will send the money of the ones that he already sold, and he was like, oh, he wanted to finish. He wanted to make sure that he sold all the shoes so that he'll be able to give me the complete money. And I was like, okay, no problem. So that was how I kept waiting, and I keep asking like, okay, have you finished selling the shoes? He said, oh, they collected this as credit and they did not pay him. They have not paid him and all that. I was like, okay, I can understand. So eventually, when we resume, the it was a couple of months before we resume, and when we resume, his number was not going through, and there was no money, and there was no communication at all. I was like, oh, no shoe, no money. So when I got to call him, when he finally got to pick my call, he said, oh, he was not around. He went to the village and there was no network and blah, 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 blah. When he's back, he's going to talk to me and he's going to settle me and all that. I said, okay, no problem. So this person refused to call, refused to pick my call, and I have to just settle that, oof, this business has flopped. Like, it's not moving well at all. So it got, when I resumed back to school, I felt I felt like demotivated. I was not having the motivation, all the motivation that all the books I've read has given me initially when I started the business. They are nowhere to be found. So the reality of business hit me, and I said to myself, no, I'm not doing this business again. So I keep waiting for this guy. He never called, he never gave me the shoes. He said he has already sold the shoes and blah blah blah. So 1 year, 2 years later, when I returned for my HND, Higher National Diploma, we met, and he was so like, he was feeling guilty, and he was like, oh, he lost his phone, he couldn't get my number and blah blah blah, blah. I said, no problem, he will call me, blah blah blah. I said, no problem. So I left him. He didn't call. It was much later that he now called her. Oh, he's sorry what he did. There was an emergency. He used the money. I should give him time. I should forgive him. If I did not forgive him, I should give him time to repay the money back. At that time, I was already pissed off. It was getting to 3 years. So like, the money is not going to mean anything to me. And I was so frustrated. So I was feeling sad, like I've already moved on from all the shoe business and everything, because it's a flop, it has failed, and I've learned my lesson to never trust anybody and all that. And even at that, even if I want to push him, like, it's pointless at that time. So I said to him that, okay, no problem, I forgive you, just go, I don't want anything to do with you. So that was how my first business flopped. Oh, it flopped. Like, I made so many mistakes. I jumped from just learning the business from books, like you can do it, you can start, you need to save up, and which I did save up. I saved up from my monthly allowance, and I did start business, but I started it wrongly. I did not put a lot of things into considerations. Even the pricing was wrong, even the way I advertised was wrong, and everything, and even taking my goods to someone without any written agreement, without any witness, it was wrong of me. So it was just everything was so wrong, but I learned my lesson. So this was my first failed business, and I hope you also learn one or two things from me. If you have any failed experience or any experience related to business, you can let me know in the comment section, because we can all learn from each other. If you want to know how I ended up hawking donut in my during my service here, and how that did not go as planned either, please subscribe to my channel for more of my personal stories. Thank you, and bye bye.